Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to our Junktown settlement build. And by the way, no, that's not going to be the final name for it. It's just that last time you guys came up with so many good ones that it basically just made my decision that much harder. That being said, in today's episode we're going to be checking out the town's tavern, and also maybe taking a sneak peek at some of the other stuff I've been working on as well, because I did get a little bit carried away. But anyways guys, for starters, we're going to begin all the way out here on the outside of the wall. If you saw the last episode, I'm sure you've already noticed by now that things have already changed quite a bit. So now you can see we have a bit more Minutemen stuff kind of hanging around. So number one would be this sign above the front gate, and then there's also that flag all the way over there to the right. Now if we head inside, you'll also notice that some of the back walls are also being worked on. And I know I said last time that it's really not that great of an idea to build the walls before everything else is finished. So I guess you could say I'm kind of going back on what I said before, but in general, I think this is the size that I want for this town, and I don't imagine it getting any bigger than it is right now. I'd say all in all, the main goal of this town was to make a neat little spot that would be fun for, say, a survival playthrough or something like that, or it just becomes a cool place where you can come back to from time to time. By the way, this over here is the right side of the settlement. I think eventually it's going to become the little trading hub, and I'm not sure if I'm going to build that all the way up or maybe leave some of it for you guys to do, since we have the gun store back there, which obviously isn't done yet, but then there's also quite a bit more space that we could potentially have. We just need to clear out some of the rubble. But like I said, I'm probably just going to leave that up to you guys if you decide to download the settlement yourself, since I know there's probably at least a few of you out there who prefer it the way it is. Moving on though, and taking a look at the other side, you'll see I've begun extending the wall over on this end, and I also put down a big tree, which I don't think was completely necessary, but it does add a sort of cool effect to the settlement and also makes it a little bit more shady, which I definitely enjoy. And as a result, it also makes the shadows in the settlement quite a bit more dynamic as the sun kind of goes around, which sadly we can't really see today due to the weather, but oh well. Now with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at what this video is all about, and that is the bar, or tavern, if you want to call it that. And the reason I think I'm leaning towards tavern for this one is because I do plan on making the second floor up there a brothel, rather than just being rooms to rent. And as of now, that's not completely finished, so I'm going to leave that for a future episode. And today we'll just go ahead and spend most of our time down here. Now I will say this does look a whole lot better at nighttime, and definitely a whole lot more atmospheric. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up some time here really quick so we can really get a good sense of how this build looks when it's at its best. Alright guys, so it's not completely dark yet, but the moon is up in the sky and the sun seems to be setting, so that should provide us with enough darkness until we're done and out of here. And by the way, the name of the bar is the Final Watch, and the origin of this actually comes from one of you guys. Originally it was supposed to be the name of the town, although I thought it might be more fitting as either a quest name if that was possible, and since it wasn't, it became the name of the bar, which I think works quite well considering this is where the Vault Dweller made his last stand, or at least in my playthrough, that's how I'm deciding it's going to be. And speaking of that, after kind of sharing that backstory with you guys at the end of the last episode, you really seemed to enjoy it for the most part, so I kind of took it and ran with it, and we'll kind of discuss those ideas later on or even in future episodes. But long story short, hopefully that clears up how this tavern got its name. And next up, and last but certainly not least, before we move inside the bar itself, let's go ahead and check out the deck. You can see I've thrown down plenty of minor details, but I think they all are rather fitting of the location. So we have things like plants, loose caps, some drugs, and obviously alcohol. And then over here is where I think the most amount of story is told. So on the right side there, you can see someone's kind of relishing old memories, hence the silver locket and holotape, which probably came from a deceased loved one. And if you haven't noticed already, on the left there we have an issue of Public Occurrences. And I know we're a long ways from Diamond City, but since many years have passed, I thought it would be rather fitting that Piper and her newspaper would have really taken off by now and expanded to, I guess, all reaches of the Commonwealth. Now that we have all of that out of the way though, let's go ahead and finally make our way inside. And like I said, this is definitely the most atmospheric area in probably this entire town, and I think that's why I've come to enjoy it very much. So first things first, let's go ahead and begin by really taking a good look at the actual bar area itself. You can see, like usual, we have our fair share of drinks kind of lined up on the actual counter there, along with some more items that would definitely tell a story, or at the very least, just add a little bit of personality to whoever would be sitting at that seat in particular. So for instance, we have some of the more mysterious comic books, or even to the left of that we have a big ol' Magnum that's getting loaded up at the moment. And if you take a good look behind all of that, you can see we have the usual bar aesthetics in terms of the shelves kind of filled up with dinnerware and your fair share of drinks. But let's be honest, all that stuff is pretty boring, and I mean, let's face it, you see it in pretty much every single bar out there. So to make this place a little bit more unique, I put down some cooler details like the sunset sarsaparilla flag and the giant mole rat head, which I think I increased to be about double the size of the normal one, so he's without a doubt twice as menacing. And not to mention, you do have that red neon circle around him, which I think just kind of highlights how creepy he is, and in the end just really makes him stand out from everything else in this room. And now moving on once again, we'll start by taking a look at the biggest table in this place, which just has some more drinks, another comic book which someone might be reading, and also a game of checkers going on. Though I don't want to fail to mention that it is a very risky game of checkers, considering if you lose, you also have to give up all those caps you were using to play. Additionally, in this area, we also have one more mounted creature, which also just so happens to be illuminated by another neon circle. We also have a little private table made out of a barrel, so that's pretty neat. And then in the very back of the bar is the VIP section. So the seating in here is definitely quite a bit more comfy than everywhere else, and it's also got its own little personal dry bar, which at the moment is kind of empty, but I think that's also got more to it that meets the eye, considering what would have been there before is now on the other table, along with quite a few other things like some jet that our friend Hancock here might be using from time to time, and there's also a card game going on as well. And also, for those wondering, that bobby pin box there is actually supposed to be a box of cards in this case. Oh yeah, we also have more of Hancock's family up on the wall. No, relax, I'm just kidding, those are some random feral ghouls, but since we have Hancock here with us, I figured I would go over a bit more of the backstory for this town. And that's that Hancock is actually taken over since the Vault Dweller is no longer with us. Now this was also a very tough decision to make, since for this town I really wanted to sort of honor the sole survivor, and I wasn't really sure Hancock was the best person to do that, considering his love for chems and other luxuries that might be located upstairs. But when it really boiled down to it, I figured in the end he's a pretty trustworthy guy, and let's face it, he's statistically more likely to live longer than, well, most of the other followers I have. But anyways guys, I think that should end up doing it for today. I know we didn't go over that back room off to the left, and that's because I think that's where Hancock's office is going to end up being, since we really don't have a whole lot more room in the rest of the town. So we'll most likely end up going over that in a future video. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy the build. Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And like always, I will see you in the next one.